This has serious implications for the Bucs. There is an ongoing crisis problem going on for Tampa that we are trying to figure out a way around, something to solve for Jason Licht and the gang and Todd Bowles. We're looking through as many possibilities and options as we can to get this solved, but we got to talk about this. I'm Sebastian from Buccaneers Digest. Welcome, everybody. Join us on the journey to 500 subscribers. We're getting very close, guys. Make sure to hit that bell, hit the button. 95% of y'all are still not subscribed, so just hit that button. Join us because we are getting right away on training camp this week, and it's a good time to join because right now there's a lot to talk about with this team and what we're trying to build because let's face it, there is a certain problem that is happening in Tampa that a lot of people are focusing on, especially for the beginning of this season, and that is the offensive line. Todd Bowles had to say after training camp today, from a depth standpoint, we got to get some people in here pretty soon. So we are trying to make one of those signings regarding the O-line depth. So which guy came in today? Who are we working out today? And so actually this would be yesterday, just to be clear. It was Chris Hubbard who had, a brief stint. He's been kind of bouncing around with the Giants, with the Niners recently, the Browns. But his PFF grading, maybe not the best, but overall we're not looking for a starter. We're just looking for a guy who can get us through the muck. And, he's 34 years old. He has a lot of experience, obviously, but he's not built for the long run, and we can only get a few games out of him. So this would just be an extra piece of depth that is crucially needed. And overall, his rushing passing grade is the part that is a little encouraging, I would say. And obviously, the passing grade is where it's not very encouraging. And that's kind of been the point for a lot of the offensive linemen, the available offensive linemen. I mean, if there was a good one still out there, he would have been picked up by now because, good offensive linemen and great ones in particular are a dime a dozen. You just kind of throw everything you can at them, which is why the Tunsil trade earlier this offseason made no sense to me. Why would you trade away one of your best pieces? Some people focus on the skill position a little too much, if you ask me. We focus on building an elite offensive line, and especially when we had one kind of composed of a whole different cast of linemen back in our Super Bowl run, excluding Tristan Wirfs, who was obviously there for that run in his rookie season. But he's obviously the centerpiece, he's not in the center, he's on the left side, but you know what I mean. He is the guy, the captain of that squad, and we're trying to figure out what we can do without him for what is potentially going to be up to 4 games, and hopefully not anything more than that. But that's kind of what we're dealing with because as we saw earlier in training camp, he was in crutches. He didn't look like a guy who would be playing week 1. And so we're relying on somebody who, has a lot of experience, and particularly, I should add, with a certain quarterback that we have on our team right now. Greg Godwin from The Athletic said that Chris Hubbard started 34 games for the Browns from 2018 to 2020 when Mayfield was the QB there. Good guy to get an endorsement from. So that's another thing that we kind of have to talk about is, if Mayfield says, yeah, let's do it, then overall I think that is as good of an answer as you're going to get because we have, a player on Tampa, the leader of the offense, who would say, I'm cool with this guy being our backup left tackle in the meantime while Tristan gets healthy. That's honestly, if we're choosing between the guys that have already come in, like Fant the day before, would we rather get the guy who's played with Baker, who has that experience and, will understand maybe some of Baker's tendencies? Obviously, Baker wasn't the best version of himself in Cleveland, and now he's ascended to the best version of himself in Tampa, and he's talked about in several podcasts that, it's because of the Tampa organization, this team, the coaches, everybody is encouraging Baker to be himself and play like himself and lead like himself. And so if that's the case, we're getting the most honest version of Baker. He's not trying to impress anybody or put on some kind of show. He doesn't want to put on the franchise quarterback archetype, even though he is our franchise quarterback now. But he would give us our honest assessment. He's like, do we think this guy still has it in the tank? Obviously, 2018 to 2020 is not as close as it once seemed. That is, 7 to 5 years or 5 to 7 years ago. And so we have to kind of keep that in mind. And this is an offensive lineman who's got a lot of injury history. He's not very good in the pass blocking, but can still hold up, obviously, in run blocking, and we wouldn't need him for the whole season. He's just like, hey, man, 2-3 games, at most 4, like, can you give this to us? And hopefully the answer would be yes. And having that little security blanket is everything, and it's a little scary considering that we don't really have a security blanket to work with. We're like Todd Bowles said, we're bringing in as many guys as we can, like, with a chance to sign them, because we don't know what's going to happen if we don't. We can't just rely on having Charlie Heck as our only option. There's nothing. And to be honest, we have Fant and we have we don't have him, but we brought in Fant, and it's just one of these things that we're bringing in guys who has better experience, have better grades, because Charlie's are all really, really low. And it's just not very encouraging, because the left tackle position for a right-handed quarterback is the most important position on the offensive line. If that's not secured, and if we don't have some kind of protection there, if it's just going to be a turnstile where, like every other play, a guy is getting through, it's cause for concern. We need Baker to stay, healthy. I'm a big Kyle Trask guy. I believe in his potential. But, there's a reason that Baker is the guy. He's a top 10 quarterback now. Like, the NFL execs are voting for him to be in the top 10. So you got to protect that with everything you can. And so right now, it's clearly a huge priority for the Buccaneers to figure out this left tackle situation, because it's not going away. It's not like Tristan's legs are automatically just going to heal out of nowhere. This is something that has to be addressed over the next few weeks, because they need time to practice with the team and get acquainted with how our offensive line, the offensive scheme works, and all the plays. Because those first 4 games being Atlanta, away game at Atlanta, away game at Houston, then home for the Jets, and then home for the Eagles. Those are all not very easy defenses to go against. And, we can't just have some random guy at left tackle, or just one left tackle option available to us. If something happens to him, we're cooked. So this is important for us. I would like this signing because he has the experience with Baker. It's just one of those things that can we trust it? Will he be able to stay healthy? And how much will the passing game get affected? Like, will we have to adjust, because knowing we'll have less time to throw, we'll be calling a lot more quick pass plays like screens, slants, or dialing up a lot of different runs, trick plays. It's just a matter of what is Grizzard, our offensive coordinator, going to come up with to not only patch the hole a little bit, but just keep it from exploding and causing more damage to other players. And obviously you can't protect everybody, and you can't predict what's going to happen. Injuries happen no matter what. It's just a matter of holding the dam, holding back a casket, because we can't afford to start out 1-3, 0-4. It's our season would be over. So we have to. That's why these might be, the first month might be the most crucial month in the entire season. Any win is an absolute dub. Obviously, but it matters even more, because you're playing without your best player in Tristan Wirfs, and we're obviously hoping he gets back as soon as possible. We'll be staying updated on whether he will be able to maybe not be on the PUP list, the physically unable to play list, by the beginning of the season, because that means he'll be on the roster, and maybe he could come in before week 5. Because once you're on the physically unable to perform list, you have to be out for at least 4 games. And so that's just the thing. It's like, will he be there or will he not once the season begins? There's a deadline after the preseason. Like, once you set your 53-man roster, like, okay, is Tristan Wirfs on that 53-man roster, or are you putting him on this list so that you can, bring him back later on in the season? And so that's just kind of what they're working through right now. And Tristan, like we talked about, he is in crutches. So it's like, it's not looking like he's probably going to be available. He's still learning to be able to walk normally, much less pass block against the most bestial humans on the planet. Or that's not the best terminology, but you know what I mean. Like these guys they wreak havoc, and the defensive lines we'll be going up against are no slouch, and we don't want to rush Tristan back too early. So question is for you guys, do you like the idea of this signing and getting some more protection? Do you have a preference on who we should sign? Because personally to me, I like the idea of someone having experience with Baker, but you tell me where your priorities lie. Sound off in the comments below. Subscribe. We're almost at 500. Just keep it going, guys. We got some more training camp stuff on the way, and we'll keep you updated with all things Buccaneers Digest, Buccaneers here, and we'll see y'all then. Hope to see you then.